It was 3 in the morning. A thin woman was admitted to the hospital's emergency ward, covered in blood, barefoot, and trembling. There were bruises on her face, dark marks on her arms, and a pain in her eyes that could not be described even in a scream. The doctor immediately laid her on a stretcher, and the nurse asked, "What happened?" Shahzeb replied coldly, "She fell in the bathroom." A glint of doubt appeared in the doctor's eyes. This was the 4th incident this month, and the reason was the same every time. "She fell." Asia said only one sentence in a low voice. "I can't sleep, I feel dizzy." Then she fainted. Shahzeb walked out, shaking his hands. The nurse looked at the doctor. "It doesn't look like she fell, sir. It's something else." The doctor shook his head. "We have to do something." The next morning, when Asiya regained consciousness, the doctor and nurse were standing in front of her. The doctor said softly, "Son, we want to help you. Tell the truth. What did your husband do to you?" Tears filled Asiya's eyes. She bowed her head and said only, "Where will I go? My parents left me long ago. I went against their honor. I got callous on their face. Now if this husband also leaves me, where will I go? Which door will I knock on?" The doctor said patiently, "Give us permission, we will hand him over to the police." Asiya shook her head in denial, trembling. "No. This is my husband, and my fate too. I forgive him." The doctor looked helplessly at the sky. After she left, Shahzeb came in. Asia lowered her eyes. Shahzeb said in a low voice, "Forgive Asia, just for the last time. I will never kill you again." And Asia, who had already lost every relationship in this world, just smiled. A smile that was more painful than a scream. 2 days later, Asia was discharged from the hospital. Her face still bore the scars of her bruises, and her eyes held that silence that was more deafening than a cemetery. When she returned home, her mother-in-law opened the door and said with a mocking laugh, "Come here, Ronnie, have your charms worn out? You have ruined our name by going around the hospital every day." Asia entered quietly. She sat in a corner of the room and tried to hide the wounds on her arm. Her whole body was in pain, but the pain in her soul was something else. She kept wondering if this was really the price of her love. The one for whom she had left her parents, gone against them and got married, was the same person trampling her underfoot today. Shahzeb came at night. The whole room reeked of drugs. Asia lowered her eyes in fear. Shahzeb shouted, "Why did you go to the hospital? You told everyone, right? What do you want now? Send me to jail." Asia said in a hoarse voice, "I didn't tell anyone." Shahzeb slapped her hard. "You're lying. You've told me everything." The doctor stared at me. The nurses' attitudes have changed. Asia fell to the floor and started hiding her face with her hands. "Shahzeb, please, not now." But he was blinded by hatred, greed, and the intoxication of power. The screams that no one wanted to hear echoed on the walls of the room. No one knocked on the door, no one asked if everyone was okay. When Asia regained consciousness in the morning, she was out of breath. The pain in her arm had become unbearable. Her eyes were fixed on the door, hoping that someone would come, someone would ask, "Are you alive, Asia?" The door was closed, and her heart was broken. The mother-in-law threw the breakfast plate inside. "Eat, otherwise Shahzeb will get even angrier." Asia thought while looking at the bread, "I wish someone would give me not just a snack, but a shelter." The doctor called that same evening. "Asia Bibi, will you come for a checkup again?" Asia only said, "Not now, doctor. Now I only want a checkup for death. I have lost so much time to live." That evening was strange. The sky was covered with clouds, as if nature itself was lamenting Asia's condition. The room was dark. Only a little light was coming in from the window. Asia was sitting on the floor, leaning against the wall, silent. Her hair disheveled and no tears in her eyes. Just emptiness. The door opened loudly. Shahzeb came in. He had a paper in his hand, and the same cruel smile on his face. "Look at this." He threw the paper in front of Asia. This is the plot in your father's name which I once asked you for. Asia raised her eyes. My father had disowned us. How about this plot? Shahzeb laughed. There are many things that happen in this world that you don't know. Just sign here. Asia asked in surprise. What kind of paper is this? Shahzeb's tone changed. Don't ask questions, sign. Asiya raised her hand, her fingers trembling. What if I don't sign? Shahzeb's face darkened. Then you will regret it for the rest of your life. Mother-in-law's shoes, my beating, and the imprisonment in this room. Asiya remained silent, her eyes moist. Then she picked up the pen and put her hand on the paper. But her heart was saying, this is not just paper. This is the death of my self-control. That same night, her mother-in-law came into the room and said, you are a woman, and a woman's job is to keep a man happy. Even if he makes you go through hell, you will have to endure it. Asiya listened and thought, is being a woman only about enduring injustice? Is love only about sacrifice, Asiya? The next day, Asiya saw her face in the mirror. Every nail was a story, every cut a legend. She wanted to scream, but her tongue was at a loss. While washing dishes in the kitchen, a knife came into her hand. She looked at it for a moment. Then a thought came to her mind. Is it easier to kill yourself? Or to live every day? To die every day? But then Shahzeb's voice rang in her ears. The truth is, Asia, you are my thing now. Things don't rebel. Asia put the knife back and killed herself once again from within. In the morning, the stove was burning in the kitchen, and Asia's heart was burning inside. Her hand burned while baking bread, but not a word came out of her mouth. Now even the pain had become a friend. Mother-in-law entered the room, a basket of clothes in her hand. Wash all this, and be careful of any stains that remain. If Shahzeb smells, you know what he does. Asia lowered her eyes and just nodded. She didn't argue anymore, because here the sound meant punishment. In the afternoon, Shahzeb came. He was sitting in the room smoking a cigarette, and Asia was sitting at his feet pouring tea. Shahzeb suddenly asked, have you ever thought that you could meet your parents again? Asia looked at him in surprise. No. They have even stopped calling me by my name. Shahzeb said sarcastically. Then you are at my mercy. And remember, if you ever do anything clever, neither this house nor I will survive. You will have to sleep on the streets. Asia's heart trembled. She left the room silently. At night, her mother-in-law imprisoned Asia in the store behind the kitchen. The only reason was that Asia had added too much salt to the food. Is this food for humans or for animals? Her mother-in-law slapped her. And then the room was closed. The light was off. The water was off. Only darkness and silence. Asia sat against the wall and thought, is this really my life? Will I ever be free? Will my screams reach anyone? She was already dead inside. There was only one body, still breathing. Several hours later the door opened. A small child, one of the neighbors, came in with his feet pressed together. Several hours later the door opened. A small child, one of the neighbors, came in with his feet pressed together, a piece of bread in his hand. And eat this. I beat you a lot, didn't I? Silent tears started flowing from Asiya's eyes. The child left, but his innocent words echoed in Asiya's heart. I beat you a lot, didn't I? And that night, Asiya prayed for the first time. Oh Allah, kill me or save me, but get me out of this hell. The morning sun rose, but Asia's world was still in darkness. As she left the room, her mother-in-law stared at her. Did you survive? I thought you might have died. Asia remained silent. Now even answering was tantamount to rebellion. Shahzeb entered the house, a smile on his face, a mobile in his hand. Here for you. Asia looked at the mobile in shock. For me? Yes. So that you can contact your parents. He started laughing. If they still consider you their daughter. Asia's hands trembled. She grabbed the mobile. But a storm had broken out in her heart. Really? Can she still call? Are her parents? At night, when everyone was asleep, Asia secretly sat in a corner of the room, opened her mobile, dialed the number. Her mother's number, which had been safe in her heart for years. The ring rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Then a feminine voice came. Who is it? Asia's voice trembled. Mom. I'm Asia speaking. Silence on the other end. Then the phone went dead. Asia dropped the mobile. She didn't cry, she didn't scream. She just became silent. The next morning, Shahzeb took the mobile back. See. What did they say? You're dead to them now. Asia didn't say anything, but for the first time in her eyes, there was no emptiness. Rather, a silent war was lurking. That same day, the doctor came home from the hospital, medicine in hand, and concern on her face. Your wife's health is deteriorating day by day. We have to get some tests done. Shahzeb was annoyed. You guys only know how to make money. The doctor looked at Asia. Do you have anything to say? Any pain? Asia bowed her head and said, everything is fine. The doctor placed a paper on the table. This is the number, if you ever need to say anything, call it. And left. Asia looked at the paper. For the first time a door was open. There was some hope. But she was thinking, can I go through this door? Or is this also a deception? The mother-in-law tore the paper. Stop all these tricks now. If Shahzeb gets angry, he won't even have a bone left this time. Asia bowed silently. But now a seed had been sown in her heart. Someday that seed would sprout, and Asia would give birth to a new Asia within herself. It was raining, but the rain that was not soaking the ground, but a broken heart. Standing by the window of the room, Asya was watching the rain pouring outside. And a single question was echoing in her heart. For how long? How long will I endure all this? At that moment, her mother-in-law's hoarse voice echoed from behind. What are you dreaming about standing here? The stove is cold, and you are watching the rain. Asya didn't say anything, just lowered her eyes. Today's blow was probably still ahead. Shahzeb came home in the evening, with a bottle of wine with him, and horror in his eyes. Today you lied to me. You called outside again, didn't you? Asya was shocked. No, I didn't do anything. Shahzeb grabbed her by the hair and threw her to the ground. I'm not stupid. Why did you get a call from the doctor? Will he take you out of this house? Blood started flowing from Asia's lips. She only said, I didn't tell anyone. Just let me live. Shahzeb kicked hard and closed the door and left. In the dead of night, when the whole house was sleeping, Asia got up secretly, stood in front of the mirror, looked at her wounds. And suddenly she asked herself, who am I? Am I just the one who gets beaten by Shahzeb, the one who hears the abuses of her mother-in-law, or the girl who dreamed of love? There was no moisture in her eyes. Now there was only one question. And when the question settles in the heart, someday it demands an answer. At that moment, across the window, a little girl was playing in the street, who was splashing in the rainwater and enjoying herself. Asia saw her and smiled for a moment, a smile that came after years. I wish I was a child too. I wish time had stopped there. When there was no husband, no mother-in-law, no this prison. There were only dreams, mother's lap, and father's love. Then at that moment she remembered something her mother had said. Son, respect begins with yourself. If you save yourself, then God will never leave you alone. Asia slowly closed the window, changed her clothes, and made a decision in her heart. But will that decision really become a step? Will she really be able to become a new Asia? Or will there be another rain of wounds on the path of truth? Only time will tell. The morning light was coming in through the cracks in the room. Asya was sitting quietly in the room. Sleep was far from her eyes. Every moment of the previous night, every sound, every slap, was captured in her mind. The door of the room opened. Mother-in-law came in with a cup of tea in her hand. Here, take the tea, wake up your husband and give him breakfast, and yes, Nanda is coming today. Don't open your mouth in front of him. If anyone complains, you know what will happen next. Asya took the tea with trembling hands. Yes, her mother-in-law said threateningly. Just say yes. If you had ever thought about the honor of our family, you wouldn't have come here like this, turning your back on your parents. Asya quietly left the room. There was no rebellion in her heart now. But a wall of silence was definitely starting to build. She was preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Then Shahzeb's sister came from outside. Beautiful, arrogant, and a loudmouth. Oh, Babiji, today you have a new design on your face. What did brother hit you with? A slipper or a belt? Asia's heart screamed, but her tongue was locked. She just lowered her eyes. In the evening, when all the guests had left, Shahzeb came home. He had a new mobile in his hand. Here. The bill for the call you made yesterday has arrived. Such a long call. Who were you talking to? Asia panicked. I just asked my mother. Once. Shahzeb raised his hand, and then the same slap. Asia fell to the ground. Mother-in-law ran over. Kill her. This girl will not recover like this. She will only end up holding a funeral for our honor. Asya was lying on the ground. But a voice was echoing in her heart. How long will I endure all this? Is death the only way out? At night, when everyone was asleep, Asya secretly took her dupatta, went to the roof and looked at the sky. The stars were shining just as they had been seen from the courtyard of her grandfather's house as a child. She raised her hand to the sky. Oh God! You see, don't you? This oppression. This imprisonment. Only you know how long I will be able to live. If this is my destiny, then end me. But if my life has any meaning, then give me strength, give me courage, so that I can write my own destiny. That night, Asya cried and surrendered herself to God. And the next morning, when she woke up, something had changed in her eyes. Now it was not just her eyes that were awake, but Asya's inner voice had also opened her eyes. It was morning, the sun rose just as the sun rises. But today there was no darkness in Asya's eyes that used to be. There were no tears, no silence. Today there was a strange light, as if a lamp hidden in her heart had suddenly lit up. Sitting in the room, she was looking at herself in the mirror. Swollen eyes, a face full of blues, but a silent determination in her eyes. The door opened, her mother-in-law came in. Get up, Ronnie, your husband's friends are coming today. The food arrangements should be good. Don't be embarrassed anywhere. Asya got up slowly. Yes, I see. Her mother-in-law stopped, looked at Asya in surprise. This tone was a little different, neither broken nor scared. Something had changed. Shahzeb came in the afternoon. His friends were with him. Asya prepared the food, set it on the table. But for the first time today, she didn't lower her eyes. Shahzeb stared. What's the matter? Why aren't you saying anything? Asia said softly. Everything will be done on time. Don't make noise in front of the guests. Shahzeb's hand stopped. He couldn't hit her in front of his friends. He just gritted his teeth, but remained silent. Everyone left at night. Asia was washing the dishes when Shahzeb came from behind. There was something strange in your tone today. Are you being rebellious? Asia replied without turning around. No, I'm just tired. Beating every day, taunting every day, imprisonment every day. Now if you want to live, you have to learn to live. Shahzeb reached out to grab her by the hair. But Asia held her hand for the first time. Strongly, firmly. Enough. If I get hit again after today, I will expose you in front of everyone before I kill myself. I am no longer afraid of death. But I am starting to feel the pain of being oppressed. Shahzeb was stunned. His silent, frightened wife was talking to me with her eyes locked on his. He pulled back. Do you think I will be afraid of you? Asia closed her eyes. No, I just want you to see the truth. The truth that I have hidden for years will not be hidden anymore. That night, Asia lay down on the bed for the first time and closed her eyes. And said to herself, "Maybe I will lose, but now I will not lose without a fight." The morning coolness spread throughout the room. Asia looked very calm today. She got up earlier than usual and prayed, and for the first time, not silent tears but hope flowed from her eyes in prostration. Mother-in-law smashed the dishes as soon as she entered the kitchen. "Have you become the new queen? Your complexion has changed a bit these days," Asia said in a calm tone. "I was just silent. Still am, but now I can't bear the silence. My patience is over." Mother-in-law raised her hand to slap her hard, but Asia held that hand. "That's it, no hand will rise now. If it does, then there will be an answer." Mother-in-law looked at her with surprise and anger. "Are you showing us your eyes?" "No. I'm just asking for respect, which is the right of any woman, be it a daughter, daughter-in-law or wife." When Shahzeb came home in the evening, his mother-in-law had already lit the fire. "Son, now she has started talking, threatening me, and showing you her eyes too." Shahzeb's eyes turned red. "So now you will teach us. Have you found a language at home?" Asia looked into his eyes and said, "No. This language was there before, you just suppressed it by beating me. Now I will not tolerate everything." Shahzeb raised his hand forcefully, but Asia took 2 steps back. "Hit me. But this time if any other wound is inflicted on my body, then I will return the same wound to you, in the language of the law, and in the court of God." Shahzeb stopped. His wife, whom he had been keeping at the tip of his shoe for years, was speaking for the first time today. Raising her head, "What will you do? Where will you go? You don't have anyone." Asia pointed to the sky. "I have the one who holds every oppressor accountable." That night Shahzeb locked her in the room. He did not give her food, did not give her water. But Asia sat quietly on the carpet, taking out a small part of the Quran and reading it. Every verse, every word, seemed to be strengthening her heart. For the first time Asia felt the strength within her. She thought, "If my parents are not with me, then God is. If my in-laws are my enemies, then my conscience is my companion." And for the first time, Asia said to herself after praying, "Something will change from tomorrow. Even if it is a little, it will change. Because now I am Asia, the Asia who does not just tolerate, but also responds." As soon as the morning dawned, the mother-in-law opened the door. "Are you alive? Or should you be buried?" Asia said in a low but strong voice. "I am alive. And now I will live in such a way that you will remember me too." The mother-in-law didn't even bother to look back. Now she understood. Asia was no longer silent. While making breakfast in the kitchen, Asia was lost in thought. What should I do now? Who should I ask for help? Should I call the doctor? Or the number that she gave me? But she immediately remembered, her mother-in-law had torn up that slip. When Shahzeb came home, his face was silent. Today his tone was also a little soft. "Asia, I am thinking, should I put you to some work? Like sewing, etc." Asia looked at her in surprise. "What do you mean? Just understand this. Now you will have to earn your own share of the income for your expenses. You are a burden on the house. There is no benefit." Anger rose in Asia's heart. "Am I a burden? The woman who works for you from morning to evening, serves your friends, endures the taunts of her mother-in-law. That is a burden." Wrinkles appeared on Shahzeb's face. "Enough of your philosophy. You want work, right? So listen. You will now have to go out of the house every day and sell clothes in the streets of the neighborhood." Asia's color faded. "What? Me? Sell clothes in the streets?" Asia laughed. "Yes. Now this goddess of honor will come out. Then it will be fun. Now we will show the world what our daughter-in-law is like." Tears came to Asia's eyes. But she did not cry. She said to herself, "These people want to humiliate me. But I will save myself. Now I will write the end of my story with my own hand." At night, when everyone was sleeping, Asia secretly turned on an old phone. This was the phone she had hidden, hiding from Shahzeb. The number was in the doctor's old call history. She dialed the number again with trembling hands. "Hello." A voice came from the other side. Asia's breath began to rise. "Dr. Sahib. I am Asia speaking. That what you said? If your word still stands, then I am ready to seek help." There was silence on the other side. Then a soft voice came. "Asia Bibi. How long have we been waiting for this moment? You have the courage. Now the cruelty has to stop." Tears began to fall from Asia's eyes. But these tears were not of weakness. These tears were of the first light that had descended into the darkness of her heart after years. The morning air was a little different today. The way the birds were chirping on the trees. It seemed as if they were calling out to Asya. "Wake up. The time has started changing." Asya opened the closet, took out her clean but old clothes, wrapped her dupatta over her wounds in such a way that no marks were visible, and stood in front of the mirror and said to herself, "Today I will go out of my own free will, not on someone else's orders." The mother-in-law saw her and said, "Where are you going?" Asya said without lowering her eyes, "I am going out, in search of some work." The mother-in-law laughed. "Wow, wow. Will she now raise her head and walk out? Listen. Don't make any mistakes or you won't come back alive." Asia quietly left the door. The door, which she had passed through every time Shahzeb had asked her to. Today she had crossed it for the first time of her own accord. The streets of the neighborhood were narrow. The eyes of the people even narrower. Some were murmuring, some were staring with mocking eyes. Is this Shahzeb's wife? Is she starting to come out now? Asia heard everything. But it didn't matter. Because she was not in anyone's sight. Now she was living only for her own honor. She reached the hospital, went to the reception and said in a low voice, "I have to meet Dr. Farrak." After a while the doctor came. He saw Asia from a distance, and immediately understood that the moment had come when this silent woman was ready to speak. Come inside." Entering the room, Asia sat on a chair. The doctor asked softly, "Are you ready to tell the whole truth?" Asya closed her eyes, then said in a low voice, "Yes, I want to tell everything, which has been frozen in my bones for years as pain." The doctor took out the report. "Your wounds, your health, everything is testifying. But if you testify yourself, we can take legal action." There was moisture in Asya's eyes, but there was decision in her tone. "I am ready. Now I don't have to escape, I have to fight. For my honor, for my life." The doctor nodded. "We are with you. This fight will be difficult. But a woman like you will one day become the courage of another woman." At that moment Asya realized for the first time. She is no longer alone. Asia left the hospital. A new courage in her heart. A new light on her face. Her feet were on the ground. But her thoughts seemed to be touching the sky. "I can do it. I can ask for justice for myself. That's enough." When she reached home, the door was open. But there was a strange silence in the air. As soon as she entered, her mother-in-law was standing at the door of the room. Her face full of tension, mischief hidden in her eyes. "You've come. So now listen. Your husband has decided that you have gone mad." Asia was shocked. "What?" Shahzeb appeared from behind. A paper in his hand, a report, and a venomous smile on his face. "Look, Asia. This is the medical report, which says that your mental condition is not good. Now if you go to the police or the court, then we will show you this report that you are mentally ill, and your words have no credibility." Asia's steps staggered. This was a new blow. A blow that trampled on her morale. This is a lie," Asia said in a trembling voice. "Yes, this is a lie," Shahzeb laughed. "But in the courts papers speak, not tears from your eyes." The mother-in-law stepped forward and said, If you open your mouth, they will lock you in a madhouse. No one will listen there, no one will ask. Asia's breath started to catch. She backed away, going towards her room, closed the door and sat on the floor. Oh my God, what is this now? These people want to erase me completely. They want to bury my truth. But at that moment, she remembered Dr. Faraka's words. This fight will be difficult, but a woman like you will be the courage of another woman. She stood up, stopped crying, wiped her eyes, and decided in her heart, if these people want to erase my truth with lies, then I will now give a one-on-one answer to each lie. At that moment she picked up the phone and called Dr. Farak again. Doctor, those people are making a false medical report against me. Asia Bibi, don't worry. We all know and we have your original reports to confirm it. Now this matter is not just about you. This is a fight for justice. Asia's eyes filled with tears. But now they were not tears of weakness. Faith. That night, Asia did not beg the Lord after praying for the first time, but rather thanked him for having given her the lamp of truth even in the darkness of lies. The morning sun rose, but there was no darkness in Asia's eyes anymore. Now every ray was burning the intention of her heart. She stood in front of the mirror in the room. Simplicity on her face, truth in her eyes and conviction in her tone. The door opened. Shahzeb appeared, a mocking smile on his face. Where are you going today? To some other doctor? Or will you take me to the court now? Asia picked up her purse. Neither the court, nor the doctor. Today I am going to the police station. Shahzeb's complexion changed in an instant. What did you say? The police station. Have you gone mad? Asia said calmly. No, I have come to my senses now. And it is because of men like you that it is common practice to call a woman crazy, so that she is afraid to ask for her rights. The mother-in-law shouted. This woman will ruin the family's name. Shahzeb, do something. Shahzeb tried to close the door, but Asia had already stepped outside. Now that woman, who once trembled while stepping outside the door of the house, today stood firmly at the threshold of the police station. As soon as they entered, Mahuldar looked up. Yes, sister. Against whom is the petition? Asia's voice trembled, but the passion was greater than that. Against my husband Shahzeb, and against my in-laws, who have been physically, mentally, and emotionally torturing me for years. Mahuldar remained silent for a while, then asked, Do you have any witnesses? Asia replied, Yes. My report is with Dr. Farak. My wounds testify. My eyes, my silence. Everything is a witness. The inspector nodded seriously. This case is not common, but if you really stick to the truth, we will support you. Remember, your fight now is not just personal, it can become an example. Asia nodded in agreement. I want to be an example, so that tomorrow another Asia stands up before she has to endure all this. When she returned from the police station in the evening, Shahzeb and mother-in-law were already standing at the door. Shahzeb said laughing, What did you get? An FR was filed. Do you think you will win? Asia opened the door and looked back for the last time. No, I did not come to win. I only came to open the door, through which beasts like you trample and close the honor of a woman every day. Now I will fight not only for myself, but for every Asia. And she silently went into the room. 2 days had passed since she returned from the police station. Someone or the other would stand at the door of Asia's house every day. Sometimes a friend, sometimes an aunt from the neighborhood, sometimes a woman from the neighborhood. And every time the same phrases, the same stinging words. Hey sister. She went to the police station against her husband. Will women now ruin the house like this? Even her parents had turned their backs on her. And now she has fought with her husband too. This is what today's TV dramas have taught us. Asia stood behind the lattice of the door and listened, and kept thinking, These were the same people who remained silent even after seeing my blue eyes and chapped lips. And today when I opened my mouth, did everyone's pride awaken? One day, an old woman from the neighborhood came. Daughter, the stain of divorce is very deep. A woman should bear everything. Just don't get divorced. Asia's eyes filled with tears. But she said softly, Mother, every mole on the body is also a stain, which is visible on my soul every day. Should I die for the rest of my life just so that the society doesn't hear the word divorce? The old woman fell silent. But in her heart, perhaps for the first time, she understood the pain of a woman. Meanwhile, the mother-in-law also spread propaganda in the neighborhood. This girl is an enemy of our honor. We made her our daughter, and in return we got the disgrace of the police station. Shazib even said, if I get rid of her, then people will say that my wife was bad. And if I continue to bear it, then I will be called weak. In the evening, Asia was sitting alone on the roof. There was a strange silence in the air. But her eyes were calm. She looked at the sky and said, Oh God, everyone has left me. This society too. These relatives too. These people from the neighborhood too. That's all that's left. And if you are with me, then I am not afraid of anyone. At that moment Dr. Farrak called. Asia Bibi, we have saved your original medical report and your video statement. Now if you want, we can shift you to a legal shelter home. Asia said quietly, Not now. I have to endure something else. Because I didn't come just to run away. I have come to show the oppressor a mirror. It was 11:30 in the afternoon. Asiya was sitting in a corner of the house reciting the Quran, when suddenly there was a loud knock on the door. When she opened the door, a man was standing in front of her with a court notice. Bibi Asiya. This is the notice. Your husband has filed a claim against you in court for mental pressure and domestic unrest. And the court has summoned you next week. Asiya took the notice in her hand. Her hand was trembling, but a voice was echoing in her heart. This is the opportunity. This is the court. We're not only crying, but also learning to speak. In the evening, she contacted Dr. Farrak. Dr. Sahib, I have received a notice from the court. They are determined to prove me crazy, quarrelsome, and immoral. The doctor said in a strong tone. Then you too will have to say in court everything that has been written on your body for years. Now it should come out of your mouth. Asia started preparing to go to court. The day of the court arrived. People were gathered in the courtroom. Shazib, mother-in-law, lawyer, and family members like spectators. Asia was dressed in simple clothes, with a dupatta on her head, her eyes downcast. But inside was the volcano that had been burning for years. The judge saw the file. Shazib's lawyer stood up and said, Sir, this woman is mentally ill. She fights at home every day. She defames her husband. She has brought the honor of the family to the streets. Asia's heart started pounding, but she closed her eyes. And then when she opened her eyes, she got up and stood up on her own. Mr. Judge, if a woman screams her pain, her tears, and her tears flowing are called rudeness. I am rude. If respect means being beaten every day and remaining silent, I am dishonorable. But the truth is that I am just fighting to survive. My wounds are not only on my body, they are on my being. And I am standing here as a witness to them. There was a moment of complete silence in the court. The judge said softly, Do you have evidence? Asia presented the doctor's reports, photographs of old wounds, and the audio recording that she had secretly made one day during Shazib's threats. Shazib's face turned pale, and her mother-in-law's hands started shaking. The judge closed the file. The court will take this matter seriously, and a decision will be made after a complete inquiry. Asia's steps were strong as she walked out of the court. People's eyes were still sharp, but Asia had no fear. She said to herself, I have come out to seek justice, so I will have to hear abuse and threats, but I will not look back now. I will just move forward now. For myself, and for all those who cannot speak. There was silence for a few days after returning from court, but that silence was the silence before a big storm. Asia looked at her files every day, checked her reports, waited for the next court date, and tried to gather strength every moment. One evening, an envelope was thrown at the door. Asia picked up the envelope. Only 4 words were written on a piece of paper inside. If you want to be saved, keep quiet. Asia's hands started shaking. She sat down leaning against the wall of the room, and said to herself, "So this is your manhood, Shahzeb. Threats. The language of cowards." That same night, when she went to hang clothes on the roof, someone threw a stone from below, and shouted loudly at her, "If you go to court, you will be killed." There were rumors in the neighborhood. Some people would say, "The girl has crossed the line, now the man is a man, he will take revenge." Some would say, "All this was written from the very day she left her parents and got married. Now suffer." Asia listened to everything silently, but the decision in her heart was getting stronger. The next morning she went to the hospital and told Dr. Farrak the whole story. The doctor immediately said, "We will not only file a medical report, but also a legal protection notice. You should get legal protection." That same night Asia filed a complaint with the police. And the next day 2 female police officers came to her house. The mother-in-law shouted, "What is this spectacle? Police in the house. Now our heads are bowed." Shahzeb came to the front of the neighborhood and said, "This woman is ruining my life. She calls me a rioter. Now she wants to send me to jail." The men in the neighborhood also spoke up. "Shahzeb, you are a man. This woman is humiliating you like this. Why don't you answer?" Shahzeb said angrily, "Now I will teach her a lesson that she will remember for the rest of her life." At night, there was a commotion at Asia's door. Someone threw mud on the door from outside, broke the window panes, and wrote in red on the wall, "A woman who is an enemy of honor does not get respect." But Asia did only one thing. She opened the door, quietly went out, and took pictures and videos with her mobile phone. Then she went straight to the police station, filed a report, and asked permission to go to the media. This was the moment when a courageous voice was born from an oppressed woman. Stepping into the courtroom, Asia closed her eyes and said to herself, "Lord, my tongue is my weapon, but justice is your job." The courtroom was packed. Everyone's eyes were on Asia. Some in sympathy, some in mockery, some in curiosity. The judge opened the case file. "Today we are allowing the plaintiff's, Shahzeb lawyer, to cross-examine the woman, Asia." Shahzeb's lawyer stood up, confidence on his face and mockery in his tone. "Madam Asia, is it true that you married against the will of your parents?" Asia looked up. "Yes. It is true. But love is not a crime. The only mistake I made that day was that I mistook someone for a human being who turned out to be a beast." Whispers began to circulate in the courtroom. The lawyer took another stab. "Is it also true that your husband treated you with respect? But you used to insult me every day." Asia's face hardened. "If giving wounds is an honor, then yes, I used to insult you. If beating me every day, abusing me, and treating me like an animal together with my mother-in-law is called honor, then I didn't want such honor." The lawyer was annoyed. "What proof do you have? Did you keep a video of every beating?" Asia took out a file from her purse. "These pictures, these medical reports, and this is the audio recording in which Shahzeb is threatening to kill me. I kept collecting all this while being beaten every day, crying at night, 'cause I was sure that one day you would definitely speak justice." The judge looked at the reports, and after a moment of silence said, "The court is taking these reports on record." The lawyer fired the last shot. "Madam, if your husband was so bad, then why didn't you leave him? Why did you endure so many years of oppression? The courtroom fell silent. Asia stood up from her seat and said loudly, "Because I had no other place to go. My parents rejected me. This society considers a divorced woman a sin. And I lived every day. Because dying seemed like separation from my children. I endured. So that maybe he would change one day. So that maybe he would adopt me one day. But no. That day never came." There were tears in her eyes. But her tone was like steel. The judge said after a silence in the courtroom, "The court ends this cross-examination and adjourns the hearing of the case until the next date. But the court encourages the woman who spoke her truth." As she left the court, Asia said to herself, "This is not just a victory for the truth. This is a victory for every silent woman who has now started speaking." Asia was silent on her return from the court. After entering the room, she closed the door, changed her clothes, and stood in front of the mirror. Her face was tired, but there was a strange light in her eyes. A light that only those who have spoken the truth and lightened their hearts can know. That same night, there was another noise at the door. When Asia came out, she saw a black bag lying on the gate, in which was a doll covered in blood, and a slip. "Stop talking in court. Otherwise your body will be found lying like this." Asia's color faded. She picked up the slip with trembling hands, closed the door, and sat on the ground, closing her eyes. Her heart was beating uncontrollably. Her breathing was rapid. But suddenly the phone rang. It was Dr. Faraka's call. "Asia Bibi, I know you are being threatened. But now you are not alone. We have given your case to a women's rights organization. And now a legal team and the media are with you." Asia said while crying, "Doctor, sometimes it feels like this war is not mine. It is a conspiracy to take my life." The doctor's tone became firm. "Remember, war is not always to make the weak weak, but to create the strong. And now Allah has chosen people for you." The next day, a young woman came to the door, holding a file in her hand. "Assalamu alaikum. I am Shazman, from the Women's Welfare Foundation. We have been given the details of your case. And now we are with you at every level, legal, psychological and security." Asia looked at him in surprise. "Will you stand up for me?" Shazman smiled and said, "We are not just for you. We stand for every woman like you, who speaks a word against oppression." That same night, some young men in the neighborhood were standing with Shazeb. He was loudly saying, "This woman is defaming me. Her mind is broken. I will not let her stay here." But this time, for the first time, Uncle Yaqub, the elder of the neighborhood, came forward, who said, "Son, we have seen enough of your oppression. We ourselves have heard the screams of this girl many times. And if you do something now, we will bear witness. This girl is not alone. Now the entire neighborhood is a witness to this." Shazbeb fell silent for a moment. Asia was listening to all this from behind the window. There were tears in his eyes. But now they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of gratitude to Allah. That day in court was special. In the courtroom, the judge closed the case file. There was silence for a few moments. And then he pronounced the verdict. The court grants interim protection to Asia Bibi in light of the preliminary evidence and medical reports. Her husband, Shazeb, is prohibited from entering within 100 feet of Asia's house or any place of residence until the court's decision. Any threat, coercion or contact will be unacceptable. Asia looked at Dr. Farak, Shazman, and the lawyer in disbelief. Shazman said softly, "You have started winning, Asia Bibi. This is the first step." Shazeb was shaking with anger when he left the court. His eyes were filled with revenge. There was silence around Asia's house that night. But she knew. This silence was the prelude to a storm. The next night, when Asia entered the room after putting the children to bed, the electricity went out. Then suddenly, a shadow appeared outside the window. Someone tried to break the glass with a stone. Asia immediately informed Shazman and the police on her mobile. The police arrived in no time. But by then the shadow had disappeared. The next day, Asia found a parcel in the office. Inside was a half-burnt burqa. And a slip. Courts can't change anything. Men like us only accept corpses. It's better to die quietly. Or we'll kill you quietly. Shazman saw the parcel and said, "This could be the last attempt. Now we have to bring this case to the media. This is not just yours. It's a question for every woman who is seeking justice." That evening, Asia's case was on the news. The anchor told the whole story. And Asia's hashtag went viral on social media. Hashtag Asia's voice. Women, lawyers, teachers, even some men from all over the country came forward. "We are with Asia." Shazeb was watching all this on TV. His face turned venomous. "This woman will ruin me," he said to himself. Now there is only one solution. End her forever. It was nighttime. The clock struck 12. Asia was sitting in the room with her children. The door was locked. The curtains were drawn. But there was a restlessness in her heart. A fear that is felt before any danger. Just then the phone rang. It was Dr. Faraka's call. "Asia Bibi, we have received information that Shazeb has sent some hired men to your house. Please inform the police immediately. And do not leave the house." Asia hung up the phone with trembling hands. Informed the police. Gently moved the children to another room. And went to the door and stood. Just then a voice came from outside. "Open the door, it's the police." But Asia understood. These were not the police, they were Shazeb's men. She immediately sent the police a live location through the window. And started moving towards the roof to get away from danger. Then there was a loud noise. The door was broken. 2 masked men entered. One of them with a dagger in his hand. The other with a bottle of petrol. "Burn her. So that neither she nor her voice survive," one said angrily. But at that moment, a flash of light flashed from the roof. And police cars stopped in front of the door. The special forces immediately entered. The 2 of them were arrested. And Asia was safe. Within moments, Shazeb was also arrested. When the police handcuffed him, all that came out of his mouth was, "This woman is the reason for my ruin." And Asia stood far away and said only one sentence. "No, Shazeb, I am not the cause of your ruin. I am the punishment for your cruelty." A few months later, the court ruled. Shazeb 12 years in prison. Mother-in-law and fellow criminals sentenced for aiding and abetting. And Asia full protection, support, and a new life guaranteed by the state. Asia now works in a government agency to raise awareness against domestic violence. She has established a shelter home for women, which is called Asia's Call. Today, when she tells her story, thousands of eyes become moist, and hundreds of women find courage. The story is over, but Asia's voice still resonates in hearts. This wasn't just one woman's story. It was the story of every silent woman who wants to speak. All it takes is the courage of an Asian.